It's time to start our official press conference, and this conference obviously involves city officials, and it's about the city's commitment to green transportation. So with that, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Mayor Ed of San Francisco.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. It's a joy for me to be here with you here at Yellow Cab to celebrate an accomplishment that I think the cities can be very proud of. But let me give you a little bit of background. I have been the city administrator for quite a number of years and really enjoyed hearing of the goals that then Mayor Gavin Newsom had announced in so many areas. And I have been very excited. In fact, when Gavin was mayor, these were the things that I really enjoyed inheriting from you, Gavin. It was what Warren Hellman's always said: even when you're doing the hardest things possible, you got to have fun. And I think it's fun when you can accomplish environmental goals for the city, because so many other people and generations ahead of us, we know they're going to enjoy this. They're going to feel that and enjoy that cleaner air that we have promised generations to come, that we're not going to be the same as many other industrial cities and create that emissions level to the point where people get sick. And so we have that in front of us, is the promise that with these very strong environmental goals that we set out, that we get to have fun accomplishing them. And just this minute ago, in sitting down, the first thing that I had a chance to tell Gavin was, again, thank you very much for showing such great leadership for this city on the gay marriage. We celebrate that. He didn't have a chance to get down from Sacramento enough, but I get to personally thank him again for that wonderful, wonderful leadership that led to a historic decision by the Ninth Circuit yesterday. Well, today, we go back again to 2008, where Mayor Newsom had initialed and led the effort.
All right, I put the iPhone away now. It's time to start our official press conference, and this conference obviously involves city officials, and it's about the city's commitment to green transportation. So with that, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Mayor Ed of San Francisco.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. It's a joy for me to be here with you here at Yellow Cab to celebrate an accomplishment that I think the cities can be very proud of. But let me give you a little bit of background. I have been the city administrator for quite a number of years and really enjoyed hearing of the goals that then Mayor Gavin Newsom had announced in so many areas. And I have been very excited. In fact, when Gavin was mayor, these were the things that I really enjoyed inheriting from you, Gavin. It was what Warren Hellman's always said: even when you're doing the hardest things possible, you got to have fun. And I think it's fun when you can accomplish environmental goals for the city, because so many other people and generations ahead of us, we know they're going to enjoy this. They're going to feel that and enjoy that cleaner air that we have promised generations to come, that we're not going to be the same as many other industrial cities and create that emissions level to the point where people get sick. And so we have that in front of us, is the promise that with these very strong environmental goals that we set out, that we get to have fun accomplishing them. And just this minute ago, in sitting down, the first thing that I had a chance to tell Gavin was, again, thank you very much for showing such great leadership for this city on the gay marriage. We celebrate that. He didn't have a chance to get down from Sacramento enough, but I get to personally thank him again for that wonderful, wonderful leadership that led to a historic decision by the Ninth Circuit yesterday. Well, today, we go back again to 2008, where Mayor Newsom had initialed and led the effort with the Board of Supervisors to establish a very strong, at that time, almost a very difficult goal of reducing gas emissions, carbon emissions from our taxis in 2008. And at the time, the ordinance was crafted with the board's support. It was a difficult task. They set out a per vehicle reduction of some 20% emissions. And I recall at that time, everybody said, it's a strong goal. It might not be attainable. Well, there's two numbers today that we want to announce that we have obtained. That not only have we met that goal with the cooperation of so many parties that we're here to celebrate with today in that collaboration, but we've exceeded that 20% goal. We now have a 49% per vehicle reduction with an increase in taxi cabs. Well, that's what makes it fun, that you set a goal that people say you can't do, and there were a lot of goals that Gavin set at the time that a lot of people said couldn't be done. And now with the cooperation of the taxi cab companies like Yellow and Luxor, and with the Taxi Cab Commission, with SFMTA, their cooperation, with grants that had been derived through the leadership of our Department of the Environment, working collaboration with BACMUD, our Bay Area Air Quality Management District, with the County Transportation Authority in their deliberations, we found that magic that we've often wished that we would have. And that has resulted in a complete taxi fleet that is 92% alternative fuel. 92% while they've grown. This is not a reduction in the fleet. I think they have actually doubled in the number of taxis, yet 92% of all the taxis in the city are alternative fuel. That means a tremendous amount of reduction in our carbon emissions. In fact, that 49% that has been reached per vehicle essentially translates into some 35,000 metric tons annually of emissions that no longer are emitted on our vehicles and our taxi fleet. It is equivalent to taking out some 6,890 cars off the highway on an annual basis. That is a tremendous thing. And while we accomplish those very nice numbers, there is an economic reality to this that Yellow Cab and Luxor and all the taxi fleets enjoy. They reduce their cost by some $11 million annually in fuel costs because they have these alternative fuel vehicles. They save an inordinate amount of money in even the brakes that they have to replace. You know, taxis, when they're intensely going up these hills all the time, on a Crown Vic, you're replacing those brakes some once every 1 or 2 months because of the intense use. With the alternative vehicles, it's about 6 to 8 months that you replace those brakes. So they're saving in that respect. It's smarter. That's the fun of it. Accomplishing more than what we set out to do because of the vision that we had and the collaboration that's gone on and the finding out of the incentives that BACMUD and SFMTA and our Department of Environment and our County Transportation Authority have all combined to work in collaboration not only with the companies, but I also want to credit all the drivers too, because it is their habits. It is what they have been used to for so many years that this ordinance was passed to change. And that culture is changed. And now we have partnerships that are very deep. We have an appreciation that is both economic, but also leaves us with generations that will appreciate what we've done back in 2008. So I think these are wonderful things to accomplish, and I want to hand it to to Paul Gillespie and what he and Mayor Newsom did back in 2008 to set this vision out for us with our Board of Supervisors and say we can do this, and we can bring these emissions down, and we can be proud that not only that 20% emissions below the 1990 level was accomplished, but we exceeded it while our taxi fleet increased. These are wonderful goals to have. This is what makes it fun. To be mayor, this is once in a while where we can have fun, where we really accomplish stuff while we get the headaches of our economy and job creation, all the things that we really want to do. We'll have a lot of fun in accomplishing these goals together. It's collaboration, ladies and gentlemen. It's that right incentive. It's not government telling the taxi fleet what they have to do, is inviting them in to have them give us their ideas and then incentivizing that road to success. That's the message. That's what I want to celebrate today, and thank you very much for coming here and sharing that celebration.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lee. This next guest is someone that I have personally interviewed many times on this subject when he was mayor of San Francisco. He's very passionate about it, and I think today might be another accomplishment that he's looking forward to being here for this event because I know he feels strongly about it. Please welcome Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. Nice to be back. Wonderful to see you all. And thank you, Mayor Lee, for the outstanding overview and your leadership and stewardship of this program, President Chu, and to everyone assembled here, congratulations on this remarkable milestone, because as the mayor said, not many people believed it was possible. I had the unenviable task of going back and reading some of the clips that were sent to me after we made this announcement, and it was remarkable, the condemnation we received. I'm so glad I never read any of that when I was mayor. Maybe we would have been dissuaded. But here we are, 92% of these cabs alternative fueled. We're leading the nation, San Francisco, once again, and proving what can be done. There's an old adage, and it holds true here today. Once a mind is stretched, it never goes back to its original form. But you have to show people evidence. You got to prove things are possible. You can't just talk about the way the world should be. And one of the wonderful things about being mayor, and you appreciate it more, I can assure you, when you're no longer mayor, is the distinction between states as laboratories of democracy, but cities truly as laboratories of innovation. The iterative process to try new things out in a small way and to see them scaled across other municipalities. And that's the opportunity here, and the option is no longer there to do things the way they once were. This is a win-win-win for everybody. The cab drivers themselves are the beneficiaries of lower gas costs. The cab companies are the beneficiaries of lower maintenance costs, and the citizens of the city are the beneficiaries of dramatic reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, enjoying a much more sustainable environment. I'll close just by thanking the person that began this. As Mayor Lee mentioned, Paul Gillespie was principal in all of this. This initiative really goes back its origins to 1997, when then Mayor Willie Brown called for a big summit. I think it wasn't at City Hall, but it was just behind City Hall around the taxi cab issues. I was invited, as all the supervisors were. I was the only one naive enough to show up, and as was his wont at the day, anyone that showed up, Willie Brown would just appoint or anoint without even asking permission or interest, and said, and today I announce that Supervisor Newsom is chair of the task force that I formed at the end of this very difficult and contentious day where everyone was screaming and yelling. And Paul and I were among the many that were part of this, and we got to know each other. And Paul started talking about this green thing, and I immediately jumped up enthusiastic about it because I was tooling around as the eccentric one with the EV, that electric vehicle from Saturn, the original GM electric vehicle, and I just thought this was the best darn idea I'd heard. We created out of that task force a new commission that ultimately went in to the MTA, and now Ed Reeskin is responsible for it. But Paul was the president of that commission, and when he ascended formally to that role, he advanced this initiative and codified his passion, and we have been celebrating his tenacity, his resolve, his constancy, and his faith in this project. And so, Paul, I just want to personally thank you for your vision and for not giving up on this and taking a lot of heat. I know from your colleagues, from other drivers, that were outraged when those gates went up a tiny bit and felt like you were doing something backhanded and that wasn't appropriate. And so I wanted to say hats off to you, to the elected family of San Francisco, and finally to Mayor Lee. I'm glad he enjoyed that. I used to beat it wasn't fun. My department head meetings were never fun. I'll have to acknowledge that now. I never acknowledged that as mayor. And Ed, for whatever reason, he'd always sit to my right, and so he was the first one as I went around. I'd always give him a hard time. But when it came to cars and vehicles, I don't know what it was, but we were kindred spirits on reducing the size of the vehicle fleet in San Francisco, increasing alternative fuel vehicles. And so I'm just glad he said that was fun, because I never thought it was, but I'm glad to hear it today. So thank you, Mayor, for making me feel better about my role in this respect and your role in making all this happen as well. Thank you.
Our next guest has told everyone, and I think he still does not have a motor vehicle that he owns in San Francisco. And I think that's still true, right? President of the Board of Supervisors, David Chu.
Good morning. I'm so pleased to be part of an announcement that should make other cities truly green with envy at San Francisco. And it is true, as Sal just said, I still do not own a car. I have to admit, as the mayor just busted me this morning, I did borrow the girlfriend's car because I had a little trouble finding a cab in my neighborhood to get down here. But all that being said, there are so many folks that we have to thank today. Obviously, Mayor Lee and his department heads who are here, the TA. But I want to thank three folks in particular. First of all, someone who is not a politician or bureaucrat who really helped to goad the rest of the city in moving forward in the direction and the vision that we are seeing today. Paul Gillespie, we salute you for your idea and for working with the second person who was instrumental in this, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. It's great to see you back here in San Francisco. Thank you for your leadership in working with my former board colleagues and really planting a goal that none of us, frankly, thought was going to be achieved. And then I want to thank all of you who are here from the taxi cab industry. I think what was accomplished with this ordinance should be the model of how we promote future reforms when it comes to the taxi world here in San Francisco. As I think many of you know, over the past week, we had a hearing at the Board of Supervisors about future reforms. We know there are many things that we still need to fix in the taxi cab world, and I do hope that it is through a model of ideas from taxi cab drivers, from the industry, working with city officials to make sure that San Francisco, that we are leading the way when it comes to taxis in America, taxis in the United States. Thank you so much for being here.
Our next speaker is the speaker that everyone has been referencing. He's a former taxi cab driver. He was also on the Taxi Commission, and he was the president of that commission, Mr. Paul Gillespie.
Thank you everyone for being here and acknowledging the second best thing we did at the Taxi Commission. And first best thing we did was hiring Naomi Little Kelly as her first job out of college as our director, and I'm glad that she's now has a new position in San Francisco. And if any of you are here because you're upset about what we did and you want to really vent, I suggest you call Willie Brown. Willie's used to that kind of stuff, and he really did appoint me to the Taxi Commission, former Mayor Newsom to the Parking and Traffic Commission, I think, and I think he's got Mayor Lee a start too. But if you want to thank someone for bringing people like Naomi Little and myself and Mayor Newsom and Mayor Lee into San Francisco government, that you might want to thank Mayor Brown on that too. There's so many things I could talk about today. People who know me know I could go on for hours about this. I could talk about the collaboration that happened in this industry between the taxi companies, the city, the manufacturers, people like John Janes. Would not happen without John Janes, who really took the lead in being the liaison between the manufacturers and the taxi industry. People like Nate Dwery and Hal Melligard and Jim Gillespie and Rich Weiner. People like John Lazar and Tom Stanglini and Charles Rathbone at Luxor Cab. I had some real help from people, not only Mayor Newsom, who we wouldn't be here without you, ex-Mayor Newsom. I wouldn't be here without you. None of us would be here without you. Your persistence and passion for this issue, I just deeply heartfelt feel that. And there's not enough that I can say about what you've done over the years for this. And I hope this is just the first, Mayor Lee, of many events that we're going to talk about in making our fleet cleaner and cleaner. I think we're about a third of the way there. We've got a first generation of clean taxis. I think there's going to be another generation of clean taxis, and hopefully in a very short period of time we'll have a zero emission taxi. I could talk about how much money cab drivers have saved. I'll just say one interesting thing about that. When we were looking for sponsors for this event today, we went to the fuel supplier for the taxi industry. And he was like, "You want me to contribute to this event? You got twice as many vehicles and I'm selling you half as much fuel." I'm like, "Exactly, thank you." I could talk about just how much money drivers have saved. This is one of the great initiatives that has not only cut greenhouse gas emissions in half in 3 years, but it's put thousands of dollars in drivers' pockets, hard working class people who really struggle to make a living sometime. But what I really want to talk about just briefly is carbon dioxide. That's something that's a colorless, odorless gas. We're all expelling it right now. And two numbers I want to talk about, which is 19.4 and 393. 19.4, a gallon of gasoline weighs 6 pounds if you lift it up. When you burn that gallon of gasoline, you produce 19.4 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions. That blew my mind when I first heard that. I knew about oxidation reduction reactions from high school chemistry, but when you really have that piece of knowledge, it opens up a whole world of understanding. And we were able to really quantify greenhouse gas emissions in the taxi industry, which back in 2006, 2007, people really weren't doing it. And we had a real struggle, and I thank all the people from Bob Hayden and Vandana Bali and all the people at the Department of the Environment, Dan Sperling, people from the NRDC who helped us on that. We really figured out how to do it long before anyone was really measuring carbon, but you can't cut something that you haven't measured. So the second number I mentioned, I gave a speech last year, and I checked the number, it was 391. I went on the Mauna Loa CO2 website last night, and that number is 393 now, and that's parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. About the time we were all born, that number was in the low 300s. Throughout most of human history, it's fluctuated between 180 and around 300. Within a few years, we're going to pass 400 parts per million in carbon dioxide emissions, and it's a sobering thought what that's going to imply for our planet, but I know that I'm proud going to bed at night that I did what I could in the taxi industry to cut that emissions of carbon in half in the realm that I was responsible for. I felt like we took action appropriate in scope and time frame to the urgency of the problem. And so I just want to thank everybody who's here today, the taxi industry, the people in city government, and the people who supported this policy all along the way to make it a success. So thank you very much.
Our next speaker arguably has one of the toughest jobs in the city of San Francisco, overseeing Muni and the Parking and Traffic Division, and no stranger to controversy, but a nice guy. Let's welcome Ed Riskin, Director of SFMTA.
Thank you and good morning. As the Director of the MTA, I and we are charged with implementing the city's Transit First policy. And in order for Transit First to work in San Francisco, we need excellent taxi service. Because as much as we'd like to see you hop on Muni or hop on your bike or walk to get where you need to go, sometimes you need a car. And from a transportation perspective, the most efficient and effective way for us to be able to meet that need, one of them is through taxi cabs. And I think actually President Chu's experience this morning manifests that. If with good taxi service, his girlfriend can get rid of that car, and that's one less car on the streets of San Francisco. But to the extent that we can meet that need in San Francisco with cleaner vehicles, then we're achieving environmental goals as well. And you know, I think Paul's reminder to us of with the sobering statistics is really important, and it's not just his use of oxidation reduction reaction, which is a phrase you don't often hear in a press conference. That was impressive, but those numbers are why a lot of us are doing the work that we're doing, because this is extremely important, not just to San Francisco, but to our planet. So I want to thank Paul first and foremost, but also our former Mayor, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom for the leadership and the courage, and a word I think I've heard him use before, the audacity to put forward a goal like this and to see it through. I want to thank our current mayor and our board president, our city and industry partners for demonstrating that with strong leadership and collaboration among the public and private sectors, that we can achieve goals in transportation, and environment, and do so in ways, and this is an important message, I think, for us to send to the state and particularly to Washington, D.C., that we can do so in ways that are good for our economy. Transportation goals, environmental goals, and economic goals are not antithetical. They can actually work together. They can support each other, and I think that's extremely important for us all today. So I want to thank everyone for their support and leadership. It's a day where we all should be proud of what we're achieving in San Francisco, to be able to do things that are good for the taxi companies, for taxi drivers, and most importantly, for the people of San Francisco. Thank you very much.
Supervisor, does your girlfriend know she's getting rid of her car soon?
I just bought her a bike.
Okay, good. In San Francisco, unlike many other cities, they have a Department of the Environment. They don't have this in every city, as you know. San Francisco is a forward-thinking city, and with that, I'd like to bring up the Director of the San Francisco Department of the Environment, Melanie Nutter.
Good morning. I am so pleased to be here today to celebrate this environmental milestone. As you've heard, we would not be here today without the broad coalition of support and the ongoing collaboration that really came together around ensuring that we could reduce carbon emissions from our taxi fleet here in San Francisco. And the San Francisco Department of the Environment is very proud to have been a partner in ensuring that San Francisco's taxi fleet is the greenest in the nation. First, on the policy front, back in 2007 and 2008, our department staff worked with the Taxi Commission and with cab companies to create the Green Taxi Ordinance that you've heard referred to today. This collaboration resulted in a performance standard requiring that taxi companies achieve overall emission reductions each year without mandating specific car models. As long as each company's fleet met the required performance standard and an average level of greenhouse gas reductions each year, they could choose the mix of vehicles that best suits them. Secondarily, regarding education, we created the Green Taxi Vehicle Guide to help all taxi companies throughout the city identify the cars that they could buy that would meet their required fleet averages. And then finally, we also worked using a tool, specifically incentives. We were able to work with the Air District as well as the County Transportation Authority to secure grants to incentivize the purchase of hybrid vehicles by taxi companies in order to achieve the level of emission reductions that would meet the overall goal. As the Lieutenant Governor said, cities serve as laboratories of innovation. And really what's evident here today is how these best practices can work and how other cities will hopefully be inspired to green their taxi fleets as well as use this as a tool to reduce their carbon emissions. So I first did want to thank my staff, particularly Bob Hayden, who runs the Clean Transportation team, who has put in many hours and a lot of hard work to help to see this happen. And I also did want to congratulate Paul Gillespie and all the partners that are here today to make this accomplishment possible. We do look forward to future collaboration that will help to maintain San Francisco's position as the greenest city in North America. Thank you very much.
The Bay Area Air Quality Management District is in charge of making sure that the air we breathe is as fresh and clean as possible, and it's a tough job. I want to bring up CEO Jack Broadbent.
Well, good morning. As the Executive Director for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, it's my pleasure to be here to really just recognize the city of San Francisco, Mayor Lee, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom for their leadership in really demonstrating the fact that greenhouse gas reductions can occur. They can occur in the economic climate that we find ourselves in. But also, I want to be here just to recognize and thank them for their leadership, for being able to create the cleanest taxi fleet in the world. That's a phenomenal accomplishment, and we've been just real proud of our partnership with the city in making this happen. At the Air District, we provided a little over $500,000 for being able to help purchase some of the taxis here today. And this is, we think, just step one of a long process moving forward, and we're real proud of our partnership. So again, I want to congratulate and thank the leadership, and I want to appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this morning. Thank you.
So now I'd like to bring up Mayor Lee and Lieutenant Governor Newsom and also Mr. Paul Gillespie, because there's going to be a presentation. And after that, we're going to go outside and we're going to do something with some of the cabs outside. So Mayor Lee and Lieutenant Governor and also Mr. Gillespie, please.
Well, who'd have thought we'd be saying thank you 4 years ago? But, but with that said, in behalf of all the taxi companies in San Francisco, we want to thank both Lieutenant Governor Newsom and Mayor Lee for their generous support of the taxi industry and for your vision to make San Francisco not only the best city in America, but the greenest city in America. With that, Lieutenant Governor Newsom, is that a, the Captain of San Francisco, thank you for your vision and would like to present you with this plaque.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
And Mayor Lee, we'd also like to thank you for your vision. Look forward to many more years together and want to present you with this plaque.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. All right. You go ahead. You want to take that?
So we have new decals that are going to be on some of these cabs, and I'm not sure who has the decals. Do you have them here? Here they are. So the Lieutenant Governor and the Mayor and others are going to go down and help us put these decals on some of the cabs outside. So.
Excuse me, Mayor. I'm right behind you. Right here?
There you go. Clean air vehicle. I think I did that right. Very good.